They told me the house was abandoned, but at night, it seemed to breathe. It began on a stormy evening in late October, when the sky above the small town of Hereford turned an unnatural shade of violet. The air smelled of wet leaves and rust, and a restless wind scraped along the narrow streets. That was the night I first saw the house on Barrow Hill Road. The locals never mentioned it openly. They would lower their voices, glance at each other nervously, and change the subject whenever the topic came up. But there was something magnetic about the place, something that drew me closer the more I tried to ignore it. The windows were boarded up, the garden overrun with weeds, and the roof sagged like the bent spine of a dying animal. Yet, beneath all that decay, I swore I heard a rhythm, faint, hollow, steady, like lungs inhaling, like walls exhaling. At first, I thought it was the wind, or perhaps the creak of old wood, but the longer I stood there in the rain, the more certain I became. The house wasn't just standing, it was alive. The next morning, I asked Mrs. Carter, the old woman who lived across the street, about it. Her wrinkled hands trembled as she held a teacup, and her cloudy eyes fixed on me with a mixture of pity and warning. "Best forget that place," she whispered. "No one who goes inside ever comes back the same. Some don't come back at all." Her words should have been enough to scare me away, but they only sharpened my curiosity. I couldn't stop thinking about the sound I'd heard. The sound of a building breathing in the dark, that evening when the town fell silent under the weight of another heavy sky. I returned to the edge of Barrow Hill Road. The street lamps flickered as though struggling against an unseen hand. I could feel the house watching me, though its windows were nailed shut. My chest tightened as I placed a foot on the cracked pathway leading up to the rotting front door. The closer I came, the louder the sound grew. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Each breath rattled through the floorboards, pulsed in the brickwork, and echoed inside my own lungs. I hesitated at the door, hand hovering over the rusted knob, when a low groan rolled through the walls. It was not just breathing anymore, it was calling. I don't remember deciding to go inside. One moment I was outside, drenched in the drizzle. The next I was stepping into a hallway that smelled of mold and ash. The door shut behind me with a sound that seemed final, like the ceiling of a tomb. Inside, the air was thick, humid, and oppressive. The wallpaper had peeled away in strips, exposing wood that pulsed faintly, as if veins ran beneath its surface. Dust swirled in the dim light, yet the dust did not fall naturally. It hung suspended, drifting with the rhythm of the house's inhalations and exhalations. I whispered, "Hello," and immediately regretted it. My voice seemed to echo back unnaturally, distorted, as if repeated by something else deeper inside the house. Something that understood me. The hallway stretched farther than the house should have allowed. I walked forward, counting doors on each side, but each time I looked back, the entrance seemed farther away. The walls narrowed, the ceiling dipped, and I realized with horror that the architecture was changing around me. A door to my left creaked open, slowly, reluctantly. Inside was a parlor, or what remained of one. A tattered armchair sagged near the fireplace, where ashes glowed faintly, as though embers had never died. On the mantelpiece, a cracked mirror leaned forward, reflecting not me, but a shadowed figure standing where I was. I blinked. The figure blinked back a second later. My breath caught in my throat. Inhale, exhale. The house matched me, breath for breath. I staggered back into the hallway, heart hammering. That was when I heard the first whisper, low, broken, like the voice of someone drowning. "Stay." The floorboards rippled beneath my feet, as though the wood were skin stretched over muscle. I ran, blindly, stumbling deeper into the house. But every hallway led only to another hallway. Every stairwell rose and sank into impossible angles. The house was folding around me, keeping me inside. That's all my point. I collapsed into what looked like a dining room. The long table was set as if for guests who had never arrived. Plates rimmed with dust, silverware blackened with tarnish, glasses filled with dark, stagnant liquid. The chairs were not empty. Figures slumped in them, their faces obscured by veils of cobwebs. their chests unmoving. I thought they were corpses, until one lifted its head. Its jaw sagged open unnaturally, and in a hollow, airless voice, it breathed, hungry. Every figure at the table turned toward me at once, their movements stiff and creaking like puppets tugged on strings. I screamed and fled, the sound swallowed instantly by the house's walls. My footsteps echoed, but the echoes did not match. Something else was running behind me, chasing me, copying my every move a fraction of a second late. Finally, I reached a staircase that spiraled upward, vanishing into blackness. I climbed, desperate. As the pursuing steps grew louder, the air grew thinner the higher I climbed, and the breathing of the house accelerated until it was ragged and furious. At the top, I burst into a bedroom lit only by the pale glow of the moon through a cracked window. A bed lay in the center, sheets torn, mattress sunken. On the floor beside it was a diary. My trembling hands opened it to the last page, where words were scrawled in frantic ink. The house is alive. It feeds or waits for someone to listen to its breathing. If you hear it, it already knows you. You can never leave. The book slipped from my hands. The whisper came again, closer now, brushing against my ear, though no one was behind me. I turned and saw myself, standing in the doorway, my face pale, my eyes hollow, my mouth moving though I wasn't speaking. The other me stepped forward, and I felt the walls closing, pulsing, swallowing. The last thing I remember before the darkness consumed me was the sound, not of my own heartbeat, but of the house, inhaling deeply, satisfied. Even now, as I tell you this, I don't know if I ever truly left Barrow Hill Road. At night, when my room falls silent, I still hear it, that steady rhythm. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And sometimes, when I look into the mirror, I see someone else looking back. A version of me that never escaped. The house is still there, breathing, waiting, and it knows your name.